Hey everybody, it's News from Heaven. This is the show where we're trying to figure out life and figure out the mind by taking an annotated journey through the writings of Swedenborg. And today we're going to be looking at the shape of heaven. How do you figure something like that out? Well, you got to do three things with me. We got to take a look at the perfect design, just the perfect design, the designer, who's that going to be? I'm not spoiling that. And then the parts, and how do they fit together, and how can we learn something as out there as the shape of heaven, and how can this be of practical use to the human race? How do we take something like this, what could be a metaphysical obscurity, and make it something that will make life better for people, that will help them? I'm drawing all these black lines coming out of these clouds because everybody's got these negative thoughts and feelings bearing down on them. And how can this concept, represented here by the bright yellow sun, flow into our minds and remind us that there's a greater reality and give us some kind of practical tools to lessen the effects of this negative stuff? Let's get to it. Like and subscribe. As soon as you all like and subscribe, then we'll go forward. Okay, you did it? Good. And leave comments. I want to know, how's this material working for you? Can you take a Swedenborg bit and turn it into something that makes life better? Because if not, let's shut it down. Why are we doing this in the first place? And you may not have wondered about the shape of heaven, but we're answering a couple of queries here, because it's not just the specifics of what we're going to learn here, but it's also this idea that spiritual things have structure to them. There's something beyond the physical. Why wouldn't it be all orderly? And I said structured already, but I'll say it again, structured like the physical. And hopefully it makes you feel a little better about who you are, because as you're going to see, I said no spoilers, but you have something to do with the shape of heaven. This is in True Christianity. The link is in the description. You can download it for free as a PDF and follow along. We're in the sixth point of a 6-point or something diatribe by Swedenborg, whatever, if that really qualifies as a diatribe, where he starts by saying, we're going to start right into it, human beings were created as forms of the divine design. So who are you, and who can you tell your negative thoughts and feelings that are trying to make you feel worthless? You can tell them, oh, by the way, you're picking on the form of the divine design. Everybody is it. That's something. There's something we start with right there. But what does that even mean? It's just feel-good sentiment. Human beings were created as forms of the divine design. I'm sure we're going to get an explanation here. And this, you may want to, just brace yourself a little bit. There's going to be a lot going on, I think, in here. We have been created as forms of the divine design. Here we get into this perfect design we're talking about. Because, why? Why do we qualify? Because we have been created as images and likenesses of God. It's not a period, but we got to stop there. Because right away, you and I, and there's actually a technical difference between what's an image and what's a likeness, and Swedenborg sometimes uses the two interchangeably, but sometimes. The point is, you are somehow an echo of God. And what we're going to look at, what's the specifics that could back up that claim. But again, to tell your head whether you're an image and likeness of God. And so that's already a bit of a shocker, a twist. But now we're going to learn something about God that we maybe never knew before. Since God is the design itself, godly purple, we have therefore been created as images and likenesses of that design. You could think about God as there's something up here. We'll put a G for God. God is up there, and you think of the divine. Maybe you haven't heard that phrase, the divine design, but you've heard some kind of cosmic order or something like that. You think of the design as this overblown hashtag here. That must be that there's God up here, and the design, Freudian slip, is something that God uses to get things done, or a way that God has organized everything else outside of God. But Swedenborg is saying, no, God is this design. This perfect ordering of things somehow is God. Not that God's some kind of mechanical graph paper instead of a person, because Swedenborg is very adamant that God is a sentient being that you can have a love relationship with. But yet, God is the divine design. And what else is qualifying about this design? Well, us. We are images and likenesses of this divine design. So whatever this grid actually is, somehow we're it. Yeah, right? I told you. It's getting good fast in this one. The divine design originally took shape and continues to exist from two sources, divine love and divine wisdom. Every sentence I want to stop halfway through because I feel like there's too much information. First of all, what's this? Originally took shape? Like we're saying there was some, I know God is outside space and time, but it sounds to me like you're saying there was an initial forming of the divine design, or maybe that's through state, not through time, like the progression of reality, and continues to exist from two sources. Okay, so we've got, I think we can safely, no offense to God, but erase this God that was up here because we need this real estate here, because it's not just that God is the divine design. The divine design springs out of things. And this is something cool about Swedenborg's description of the deity, which is that God is everything, omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, but yet has structure and has parts that you can distinguish just like we do. Comes from two sources, divine love and divine wisdom. So if we have our divine love here, and then our divine wisdom, we'll give divine wisdom blue. Come on, we always do. Somehow the design is emerging from divine love and divine wisdom, in that, the will to do what's good for everyone, combined with the ultimate knowledge of how everything works, produces this design. So this design is the product of the best possible organization and motivation. So that's part of why it is, as we're saying, the perfect design. We human beings have been created as vessels for these two things. So divine love flows into us, divine wisdom flows into us. Therefore, the design that divine love and wisdom follow in acting upon the universe, and especially upon the angelic heaven, has been built into us. This margin on the page is not going to be able to hold up to everything that I would want to show in it. That's just the nature of the material here. What I want to say is, look, you have these two things. Well, let's see if we can't just cram everything in. Like this is Manhattan, okay? We're just like using any space we can get here. You have heaven right here. I actually wanted it to be there, whatever. I'm not going to be picky about it. So you have heaven, and this divine love and wisdom are acting on heaven in a certain way. Somehow these two interface with heaven. They grab the controls in a certain way through heaven, but they're able to do that same pattern in us. So we must have something in common with heaven. You remember what this episode was called, right? Did you forget? The shape of heaven. So we and heaven share something that allows this divine design to interact with us in the exact same way. It's built into us. It's part of who we are. As a result, heaven in its entirety is a form of the divine design in its largest possible manifestation. You might just think of the divine design as something that always exists in potential, or where's the upper limit of it, or it's always a tendency towards something. But Swedenborg is saying that the largest, the most complete way this can ever be brought into being is heaven, right? So what does heaven look like? What is heaven shaped like? What is the culmination of this divine design? It's probably something you don't have a word for, right? It's better than the design of the best smartphone, right, that you've got. It's better than the design of the best movie structure and plot. It's got to be something that there's not a word for it. What could possibly be such a good design that it's the culmination of divine love and wisdom? It's going to be some word that we don't know. In the sight of God, heaven is like one human being. You, human being, who are watching this program, and no doubt, like myself, feel like, well, I'm a person, I'm not very good at this, I don't do very well at that, I don't have a very good track record with this, I'm nobody that important. You just happen to be the shape of heaven. That's you. That's you. That is the perfect design. But how heaven, I thought heaven was a place where a bunch of angels live, and we are these walk around things that can, move trash cans and do whatever we need to do. How can there possibly be a link between those two? Oh, he's going to tell us right now. The Correspondence, our best friend, as readers of Swedenborg, between heaven and a human being is in fact complete. Meaning us, our little selves here. We are an exact miniature or holographic piece of the way that heaven is organized. There are no communities. So what is that? Again, any of these, we need to fill it in with specifics. There's no communities in heaven that do not answer to some part, some internal or external organ of the human body. And getting into Swedenborg's view of, there are a lot of people who have, reported out-of-body experiences and said they traveled somewhere. There's been a lot of people who have near-death experiences and say, listen, there's loving beings. You can meet people you love that have passed on. That's not incredibly novel. Something that I haven't found anywhere else is Swedenborg's intimate linking between the spiritual reality and the form that we're all in. That there is this incredible interface between the way human lives are organized on the other side and the bodies that we inhabit, the form that we inhabit. Enough so that Swedenborg would be able to say weird things like, these particular spirits were interacting with my lungs or my heart or my kidneys, and that fits in, not just fits in, but is sort of like a core principle of his cosmology. And I'll try to, hopefully I'm spelling this out clearly, and this paragraph is helpful here. For this reason, a given community in heaven is said to be in the province of the liver, the pancreas, the spleen, the stomach, the eye, the ear, the tongue, and so on. In fact, angels themselves know which specific area within a given part of the human body they inhabit. It doesn't mean there are angels living inside your body, but it means that this form, this metaform of the divine design here is not in shape, like we think of shape here, like if you looked at the continent of heaven from a satellite, instead of looking like the continents on Earth look, it would be a person, like a gingerbread-looking person. It is the form of the function. So an angel saying, I'm in the stomach, doesn't mean, look around, you can see a big stomach lining over there. We're sitting in the stomach, aren't the views good here? This is what it means. You have the human body as this model of cooperation between differing parts. The brain is over here doing some thinking stuff, or trying its best to. You have the kid. Let's see if I even recognize what all the internal organs are. The kidneys are here purifying the blood. The digestive tract is allowing us to take nutrients in. The heart is pumping oxygen and whatever else blood does for us throughout the body. The lungs are gathering the oxygen externally. Oh man, all kinds of... Wait, is this the kidneys or is this the kidney? It doesn't really matter to me. The point is they all work together. And because of that, you're able to do these amazing things. That's heaven. Heaven, so for an angel to say, oh, I'm in the province of the lungs, means that whatever they're doing for the body, there's a correspondence in what they're doing for the human race through heaven and what the lungs do for each one of us. So when we take in oxygen, what that means to our body, with everything being a one-to-one representation, which I happen to know from Swedenborg, that breathing has to do with intellect and thinking. So you think of angels who are on the forefront of knowledge and study, they are pulling these oxygenated ideas into heaven. So just like the lungs for us do that. And furthermore, the heart is what gets everything out and has to do with the will or the love. It's the force behind what's being done. Angels, it's not that it's obvious. Swedenborg says it's a matter of angelic wisdom to be able to know this is what I'm doing for the greater heaven, the greater good. And so from that, you're able to kind of find a you are here map, knowing, well, what I'm doing for heaven, the brain or the is that the thyroid? It does for the person. Okay, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So that is how you're wearing heaven. And let me just say, even though a human body can be a thing that's a pain to maintain, and they stop working once you hit 32, but isn't it awesome the cooperation? And if there ever been a model of love, like the lungs couldn't even survive without everything else that surround them, and nothing else in the body could survive without the lungs. It's this complete interdependence, and it's this complete giving of everything to the whole. The lungs are never saying, I'm kind of bored of being the lungs. I would love to try grabbing a tennis racket right now. The lungs are, and everything is rationing what it does based on the need of the whole. It's not like you have one part of the body saying, well, I don't care if the rest of the body suffers. I want all the oxygen, right? It's all this community where decisions are being made for the health of every single part of the body. That's heaven. You apply what would be on a cellular level to human beings. That's heaven, okay? That's the design. We are the parts. You're looking at our keyword, the parts. We're all the parts of heaven. I was given an opportunity to learn about this from living experience. And this is, Swedenborg saying, it's not theoretical. I didn't just sit around and study anatomy, although he's very well versed in anatomy, and think, oh, the human body's so cool, it's got to be something more. This came to him through his travel to the other side. I saw, this is interesting, because if you think this is woe out there, that there'd be heaven that's in some kind of human form, and then us in a human form, there's more levels there. I saw a community of several thousand angels together in the form of one human being. According to Swedenborg, it happens at every level. So if you really think of us as this very teeny rendering of it, that you have heaven as a whole functions like a person, the communities within it each are like a person, and then each of us individually is like a person. We don't need to go into it here, but Swedenborg says even thoughts and feelings and things can be like a person, in that they all need to learn, metabolize, pursue what is good, maintain those basic functions, cooperate. That goes through everything. And from that experience, it became clear to me that heaven as a whole is an image of God, and an image of God is a form of the divine design. So that's where you get this. God is a person, because we are all just sort of these reflections of that. And it's not, don't go around expecting to see heaven like a single person. Even the angels don't see it like that. Swedenborg says only God is actually smart enough to be able to look at heaven and recognize how the systems all work together. Think if you were just looking at a body on a microscopic level and you'd never known anything else, you wouldn't really be able to, it would be so hard to pick out that it's all working together and how it all works together. You have to have the perspective to know it. It must be something similar with God, although you can tell as an angel where you are. Nobody has the full picture except God, and somehow this allows God to work with the human race in an amazing way. So, if you are ever feeling down about yourself, or your dark clouds are trying to get you to believe that there is not much I contribute, there is not much purpose for me being here, I would say this: you are heaven. And the more that we live in love, the more we become not just like a little copy, but an instance of the divine design. And heaven is only heaven because all of us make our own little heavens, which allow it to be built up more and more from the love and wisdom of God moving through us. So what I can remember is that's everything you learn about how cool the workings of the body are and the interdependence and the cooperation there. That's a preview of the state the human race is meant to be in. Think of the relaxation and the zero ego competition you get when you think about the body. Do you ever, if you're out there with people, some people rub you the wrong way, or you feel like, oh, this person is outdoing me in some way, or this person's standing in my way, or this person parked on my side of the street, where I marked that that's supposed to be the parking spot that goes with my house. Why are you parking there? But in the body, there's none of that. It's just like, hey, we're all here. We're all to do good. And imagine if all the people were that focused on a single goal. And the goal is of helping the health of everyone, including you. That's awesome. And that is the news from heaven. So, how did you like it? Does that arm you with anything you can go out into the world with? And how can we, knowing that the perfect design from the designer uses all the little parts of us to create a heaven that's like us, like the human body, human form, how can we use that to get the human race to start acting more like one organism? rather than a bunch of little single-celled amoebas like pushing around and getting mad at each other for how we drive. What can we do to move in that direction? That's your task for this week. If you figure it out, write it in the comments. Because we want to know and the human body. Sorry, I keep going on about this, but that shows that really the goal is non-competitive, and that we are on the same team because we're trying to work towards this homeostasis that gives everybody a happy life. That's cool because it's not always evident. Sometimes you might think, gosh, would it be better if there was just less people, or if does having other people really do anything for me? Well, yeah, it does, because this is the only way to actually be happy is in this thing. So if you learn anything more about that, or if you just want me to stop talking, write it in the comments and we'll check it out. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe. That's what makes this whole thing go. And I hope that this gives you a little bit of a lift and moves you out into the rest of your day and your week thinking, hey, I'm wearing the design of heaven, and I'm going to try to bring more and more heaven into the world because heaven is hip. All right, see ya.